short video about poetry collectives. 2 words you often don't find in the same sentence. Poets are fairly solitary creatures. I know I am. And I think poetry collectives are a really good way that we can galvanise and survive in an increasingly hostile landscape. My name is Pete the Temp, aka Pete Bearder. I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of the research and the findings that have come out of my book, which is being published this July, called Stage Invasion, which is a book all about grassroots poetry communities here in the UK and how they work. So poetry collectives, I think I want to give a little bit of background. If you are a self-employed poet or practicing poetry in any professional capacity, you are at risk, by virtue of being self-employed, of isolation, loneliness, and all of the health and mental health implications of those 2 words. Also, an increasingly hostile funding landscape, the lack of affordable workspace, the closure of venues, and the fact also that you live in statistically speaking, the most atomised society on the planet, the UK. So what are we going to do? Are we going to replicate that culture, or are we going to galvanise, get it together? I think this is a really important discussion because if we want to sustain our work and maybe do things like other people, like have a vehicle, own a vehicle, or have a kid, then maybe we need to think about ways we can support each other in a world that's becoming more hostile to artists. So I want to make a distinction here between implicit collectives and explicit collectives. An implicit collective is a group that works collectively but doesn't call itself a collective. So this might be a night, it might be an organisation, it might be a writers group. I have a friend, for example, around the corner, Cat Lions. We do co-working together with other people. We go around each other's house and we work together. That's a good example of an implicit collective. Now these are great, and this really makes up the fabric of spoken word poetry communities in this country. Downsides to this type of organisation is it can be dominated by 1 or 2 individuals who may not want to relinquish control. You may not feel that you have agency and can control the destiny of that project, and you may not also be reaping any of the rewards financially or otherwise. Explicit collectives are horizontally organised. This is the main thing about them. A good example of this is the Chill Pill Collective in London. They do nights together in London. They also go and perform together as a collective, and they get booked together at things like festivals. I recently set up a collective here in Bristol called the Bristol Loopers Collective, which is a collective of live looping solo artists. And none of us wanted to do that whole thing of the stress and the work of putting on a gig on our own. So we got it together, and actually it's been really easy, and none of us have to do too much. And it's thrown up a lot of other benefits that we didn't envisage beyond just putting on a night together, such as jam sessions, Skillshare sessions, the ability to phone each other up, bounce ideas off each other, and basically just support each other, which is really important. We have a Facebook group, we've got a logo. You could go a lot further with this. You could have a bank account, you could have a constitution, you could have a membership system, whatever you want to do. You could really push the boat out, and I would encourage anybody listening to start this conversation with people in their locality who are doing similar work, and see where it leads. What are their needs? How could you work together? And I would posit the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and really to overcome that very natural tendency to want to have control and autonomy over your projects, and actually just to reach out and see what comes of that. And from experience, it does it widens your network, and it widens the skills that are coming in to your awareness. And I'd encourage anybody to have a go. If you have any questions or any ideas, or you want to tell me maybe about a collective that you're part of, or then please do get in touch. I'd also like to tell you about the interviews that I've been doing with poets across the country as part of the research for this book. You can find them on my YouTube channel. I've interviewed and filmed about 30 different poets and talked to them about their work. And yeah, my book, if you want to get it, it's called Stage Invasion. It's out with Outspoken in July, and I talk about this and a lot of other things. Thanks for listening. I've been Pete the Temp, aka Pete Bearder, and this has been a short video about Poetry Collective.